Hello and good evening, everybody, and I'd like to welcome you to tonight's episode of Album Rant. And before I go any further, I have just got to tell you, you can probably guess by what you are looking at on the screen right now, tonight's episode is probably going to be pretty controversial. So, I have this record, I own this record, I enjoy this record, and I thought I would review it, but just once again, I know there are people out there who hate this album, and if you do, I fully encourage you to express your thoughts in the comments section. Just remember, please keep it civil and no profanity or politics, okay? So now that I've got that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right into this thing. I am going to be talking about tonight about the 1985 album Theater of Pain by Motley Crue. And this is their third album in their discography, and it's what I am talking about tonight. And this is my second time reviewing Motley Crue, my third time talking about them in any context whatsoever. But as you all know, they formed in Hollywood, California in the year 1981 by bassist Nikki Sixx and drummer Tommy Lee. From what I've read, they were both in other bands, and they decided to join forces and create a new band. And they had another guitarist, I forget the guy's name, I'll remember it one day. But anyways, he did not really see things eye to eye, and he ended up leaving the band. And eventually, they found two more members, guitarist Mick Mars and lead singer Vince Neil. Yes, that Vince Neil. But anyways, they released their very first album in the year 1981 entitled Too Fast for Love. And I really enjoyed it, okay? The songs were definitely sex, drugs, and rock and roll songs, and I thought it was really good, and they had a very metallic edge to them, and they were very, I guess you would say they were very reminiscent of Kiss, actually, but there were many hits off of that first album that I loved, like Livewire, Come On and Dance, Public Enemy #1, the title track, On With the Show, Piece of Your Action. And again, the production was very raw and metallic, but very smooth at the same time. And I thought it worked incredibly well. And it was a huge hit, and it gave way, or it segued very well into their second studio album, which was released in the year 1983, entitled Shout at the Devil, which I have already reviewed on this channel, so I'm not going to dwell too much on it. But just to recap again, the title track is one of my favorite metal songs ever. I absolutely love it. I love Looks That Kill. They did a great cover of Helter Skelter by the Beatles. We have Bastard. We have Too Young to Fall in Love. We have Knock 'em Dead Kid, and others. There's also Danger, the album closer, which was phenomenal. And from that, after that, it brings me to the subject of tonight's review, which is their third studio release entitled Theater of Pain, released in 1985. And just to kind of set the stage here, the band they had kind of a low point at this point, if you believe it or not, okay? First of all, Nikki Sixx was drifting very far into a heroin addiction, and from what I understand, he was never a great bass player to begin with, but, apparently he was really being absorbed by his substance abuse. Vince Neil, this is awkward. He was under the influence and was in his car, and he ran over the drummer from a band called Hanoi Rocks, and his name was Nicholas Razzle Dingley, and, well, he killed him. And for the life of me, I don't know how the guy is able to live with himself, but he was sued for $2.5 million and was sentenced to 30 days in jail, but he only actually ended up serving 18 days, and that seems like an incredibly light sentence. I mean, I have a feeling that if I did what he did, I would be in jail for a lot longer than 18 days. I mean, I certainly would deserve to be in jail for longer than 18 days, but yeah, not good. And at the same time, also, apparently they were not very satisfied with lead guitarist Mick Mars, and they were considering replacing him. They actually have replaced him today, so they actually did follow through with that almost 40 years later. But yeah, things were not looking very promising at the time. But that did not stop them. They still released the album in the year 1985. So let's go ahead and look on the back. Well, we have a picture of the band right there, and you'll probably notice that their look seems a little bit different from maybe their previous two albums. They definitely look like they are trying to shoot for more MTV appeal, which a lot of people don't really, they don't look too fondly upon that tactic. And well, I gotta admit, I don't really either. But there is Mick Mars right there. Tommy Lee is right there. We have Nikki Sixx right there, bassist, and wrote the majority of the music, actually. And then we have Vince Neil right there wearing pink pants for some reason. So let's go ahead and see what we have over here. Now, unfortunately, just like Shout the Devil, this track list is out of order. I don't know why record companies do this, but they do. But the actual order is City Boy Blues first, then comes Smoking in the Boys Room, then comes Louder Than Hell, then comes Keep Your Eye on the Money, then comes Home Sweet Home, then comes Tonight, We Need a Lover, then comes Use It or Lose It, then comes Save Our Souls, Raise Your Hands to Rock, and then Fight for Your Rights is the last song. So yeah, it's a little bit confusing. But anyways, it starts off with City Boy Blues, and the intro, I think, is very, very interesting. I mean, it just starts all of a sudden, and Vince starts singing pretty soon after the song begins, and I don't feel like the entire band has fully come in yet, but I mean, the intro is kind of slow, but after like 15, 20 seconds or so, the entire band just starts picking up and it just gets thunderous. It starts getting really heavy and it starts moving. And I just gotta say, even if you don't like this song, I can at least appreciate the rhythm because, man, it has got a good rhythm, and I really, really do love City Boy Blues. But I mean, like I said, it's one of my favorite Motley Crue tracks, and I just can't seem to break the shackles of the City Boy Blues. Oh, I got the City Boy Blues. Yeah, pretty simple and pretty by the numbers, but still, I mean, strong songwriting, I think, really makes up for this song, and I just gotta say, I really like it. Don't, I can't do it, never mind. But anyways, that is the first song, and I definitely do recommend that one. But then we come to track number 2, and it is Smoking in the Boys Room, which is another cover. This was actually the second cover they would do, and I think they did 3 covers out of those first initial 5 albums, and the others being Helter Skelter and Jailhouse Rock. But it's a cover of Brownsville Station's 1973 song, Smoking in the Boys Room, and it's got a definite rock and roll feel to it. Definitely not a heavy metal feel to it, but it sounds a lot like 50s rock and roll, and I know it was originally written in the 70s, but still, that's what I feel like I'm getting when I listen to this song. But, I mean, I think it's a pretty decent cover. It's pretty fast, pretty laid back, but, again, it's got a very, very swinging beat to it, and, you know, lyrics are very, very iconic. Smoking in the boys' room. Yeah, I was smoking in the boys' room. Now teacher, don't you feel me? Up with your rule, cause everybody knows that smoking ain't allowed in school. Kind of ironic they would actually do a cover of this, considering these guys, I am pretty sure, have smoked quite a lot of things in their lifetimes. So, yeah, a little awkward. Kind of a funny story. At my place of business, one of my duties is to monitor the bathroom to make sure that that kind of activity is not partaking. And it used to be on the days that that did happen, that that activity was going on, I would pull out my phone and start playing this song, see if anybody got the joke, but nobody really did, and I felt kind of awkward, so yeah, we have that. But now we come to track number 3, and it's actually Louder Than Hell, which is a leftover track from the Shout at the Devil sessions. It was initially entitled Hotter Than Hell, and if you buy the expanded edition of Shout at the Devil, you can hear that demo that was entitled Hotter Than Hell. And from what I understand, they changed the name of the song because Kiss has a song called Hotter Than Hell, and so I'm guessing they didn't really want to have a repeat or anything. I mean, I don't see why not, considering there's a lot of bands that have songs that have the same title as songs other bands did, but, you know, whatever, Louder Than Hell works, absolutely. But, yeah, I mean, this one is a lot darker, and it's kind of mid-tempo, I would say. I wouldn't really call it doomy, but it's definitely much darker than what came before than Smoking in the Boys' Room. But, I mean, I think it's a pretty decent track. You know, we like loud, we gotta like loud, we gotta like louder than hell. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, it's pretty, like I said, upbeat and very dark and very, I wouldn't call it demonic, but again, it's definitely on the darker side, which is what I like about it. Then we have track number 4, which is Keep Your Eye on the Money, which is right there, okay? And apparently, from what I've read, Nikki Sixx is doing some self-reflection on his current lifestyle, which I again said earlier included him drifting further and further into substance abuse. And again, this would all come crashing down for him towards the end of the 80s, because he would have a very fatal heroin overdose, and he's actually quite lucky to be alive. But I mean, as far as the song itself, again, I think that it works pretty well. I mean, it's pretty heavy, and it's also kind of has a slow pace, but I think the slow pace really accompanies it very well. But I mean, we have Keep Your Eye on the Money, keep your eye on the dealer's hand. Keep your eye on the money. Keep your eye on the lady's hand. Good, I like it. But having said all that, these first 4 songs, I really actually have enjoyed, but now we're going to come to a very, maybe it's not a controversial subject, because I think this song is universally hated by this point. But we have Home Sweet Home. It is a piano ballad. I do not know why they're doing a piano ballad. Well, actually, I do know why they're doing it. MTV bait. That's what it all came down to. This was released in 1985, and everyone at that point, they wanted to get on the radio, they wanted to get on MTV, because that's what young people watched, and it was a good way to attract younger audiences. And, well, I do not like this song. I think it's completely out of place. I think it totally contradicts what Motley Crue has stood for up to this point. It's sappy, and it's not even a good ballad. Now, guys, there have been power ballads out there in the past that, while I do not think they are very good songs, they made up for it because it was at least catchy. REO Speedwagon did this constantly. Yeah, their power ballads were pretty terrible, but I could let it all go because I liked the rhythm and it was good to sing along to. I do not get that from Home Sweet Home. I Don't like it at all. I've seen these guys, I think, 3 times in concert by now, and, well, to be honest, it was a pretty disappointing show, but they always played this one. He would always bring the piano out, and everybody would all stand up and get all excited. I'm like, yeah, guys, go ahead and have fun. And this is where I sit down. But, yeah, I cannot endorse Home Sweet Home. But having said that, my favorite track from side 1 is definitely City Boy Blues, and I did not have to think about that one. But overall, I think those first 4 songs were pretty solid, and I would actually kind of recommend them, but not Home Sweet Home. That song does not get any credit from me. So now we come to side number 2, and the first song from side number 2 is going to be the Sixx overall, and it's going to be Tonight We Need a Lover, or Tonight, we need a lover tonight. Yep, I just did the best I could right there. But this one is a little bit faster, which I definitely do appreciate. And overall, I think it's pretty solid. I think the subject matter pretty much speaks for itself, so I'm not going to dive too much into that. But yeah, pretty solid. But then we come to Use It or Lose It right there, and I gotta say, this is kind of where the album starts to get a little bit flat. Some of the songs, well, actually, all the songs up to this point, for better or worse, were at least memorable. And I think at this point, Use It or Lose It is probably the least memorable song that we have come up to by this point. I mean, we got Use It or Lose It. Sweet Pain is the name of the game. I said, hey, better use it before you lose it. Better lose it, don't throw it away. Yeah. Okay. Kind of dumb lyrics, but again, it's pretty fast, but relatively flat in comparison to some of the other stuff on here. But now we come to track number 8, and that is going to be Save Our Souls, which is another song that doesn't really quite hit the mark for me. I mean, it's not awful, and it's another very definite self-reflection piece by Nikki Sixx. I'm pretty sure he's the one writing almost all the lyrics on this, or actually all the lyrics in general, because there are many songs in their catalog where he is the only credited member, so we have that at least. But yeah, this one is slower, and it's, again, not exactly very memorable. I mean, the chorus is just, save our souls for the heavens, save our souls for the promised land. Yeah, I could kind of do without that. So, yeah, save our souls, kind of a hit and miss. But then we come to something a little bit different. We come to Raise Your Hands to Rock, which is right there. This one is pretty short. It's only about 2 minutes, 45 seconds or so. And it starts out acoustically, which is not something I think they had done up to this point. And yeah, it's primarily an acoustic number, but I gotta say, it does kind of work for me. And I mean, the chorus is nothing to write home about. It's just him going, raise your hands to rock, rock, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. But I mean, the acoustic intro, I think, works pretty well. And then, of course, maybe about a minute or so into the song, it starts picking up a bit. I mean, I enjoy it. But then we come to the very last song on this album, and it's Fight for Your Rights. No, not Fight for Your Right to Party. That is by the Beastie Boys. And ironically, Motley Crue has recently released a cover of that song called Fight for Your Right to Party. And they already had a song called Fight for Your Rights. And it's kind of funny, on YouTube, their cover of Fight for Your Rights to Party, or Fight for Your Right to Party, some of the comments, they are just getting destroyed in the comments. One of them said, I miss a time where I did not know that such a thing existed. But anyways, as for the song itself, the intro, it sounds kind of like Knock 'em Dead Kid from the previous album. And yeah, this song is not as good as Knock 'em Dead Kid, but I think it does have its merits. I mean, we have Fight, Fight for Your Rights, and I think it's a pretty sludgy, pretty sleazy number, and I think overall it does kind of work. But if I had to pick a favorite from side number 2 is not as strong as side number 1, but I'm probably going to go Fight for Your Rights as my favorite from side number 2. So that was Theater of Pain in a nutshell. Now, do I recommend this album? Me personally, I think it is worth a listen. Now, if you have listened to this many times and you still hate it, I get it, okay? The sound is a little bit different than what came before it. The raw metallic energy is just not fully there as it was on the previous 2 albums. But I'll say this, if you have only listened to Home Sweet Home, and hated Home Sweet Home, and then said, I am never going to listen to Theater of Pain, I think you should pick it up because there are some numbers on here that I really actually do like, and I think you might like them also. I mean, primarily the first 4 songs I think are pretty solid, and for that, I do give this album my endorsement, but as I said, if you've heard it and you hate it, I get it, totally understandable. So anyways, that is the end of my Theater of Pain review. Next time, I'm going to rush right into another album ranking, but until then, have a very pleasant evening.